So there's one more thing I want to talk about with functions. I don't have a lot else more to talk about because I've gone over most of what I wanted to go over in the parts of a function microlecture. So I want to go over some best practices in this microlecture. I'm your professor, Professor Fiske, and in this lecture, we're going to talk about best practices with respect to functions. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe. It does wonders to let me know exactly what you're looking for when it comes to the development content, the development learning content that I can offer to you. Okay, great. So, let's get started. What are some best practices with functions? Well, the first best practice is you should always put your exit conditions at the top of your functions. So let's say, for instance, this obj was empty. That means that I'm going to update my JSON dump with nothing. Well, that's an edge case. That's something I don't want to happen. We would call that unhappy path. So when I have an unhappy path, I would want to ensure that I am checking for it. So if obj is equal to null, which I'm probably spelling that wrong, null, null, null. How do I define null in Python? 1 second. It is none. All right, cool. So if the object is none or null, then I want you to return nothing. Return absolutely nothing. Or return none. Right? Now, what will happen? Well, in the event that obj has nothing in it, it was never filled with anything as we did here, or as we did in other places, then what will happen is it'll return none to me. So in this case, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to ensure that all the things I don't want to happen are captured first, and then the things that I do want to happen afterwards. So you can see here, I didn't branch off this if statement to say else if, then open the file, because I don't want to do that. What I actually want to do is I want this to fall through in the event that obj does have something inside it. And that's why we do it this way. These are called exit conditions, and they work very well to control the unhappy paths that we might encounter in our code. Another best practice that I would like to show you is the return function. Or the return, not function, but the return keyword. Now, the reserved word return has a very special place in computer science and development. That place is specific to what it actually does. Remember in the last microlecture I said that when you have a parameter like this, and you fill that parameter with something, as we did here with delete by make, well, guess what we just did? We created a new variable within the scope of this function. And I'm passing the value in. This is called passing by value. I'm passing the value into the function. All is well, right? Well, what happens when I want to pass the value out of the function? Well, that's where return comes in. Return passes the value out of the function and allows you to do things with it. So in this case, if I uncomment the filtered vehicles, you can see here that I'm saying, hey, listen, I want you to use the variable, or I'm sorry, I want you to use the list vehicles, and I want you to remove Chevy from that list. And then I want you to return to me the value of that list without Chevy in it. And so what essentially happens is, in filtered vehicles, you will get all of this without Chevy. You can see it's not there because I've run this before in a live lecture, and that's how this came out. One last thing: try your best to not write functions that are very similar. If you find yourself writing functions that are very similar, you have to ask yourself a series of very simple questions. Do I need an overload? Do I need to create more in the function I already have because it's not doing enough? Now, I'm not going to go into overloads in this class because I think in a 101 class, speaking about overloads can really take you guys and throw you to the wolves. But it's something to look up in your own spare time. Well, that's all I have for this lecture. As I say in all my lectures, I really do appreciate you guys actually watching this to the end. So good luck. Have fun. Ciao.